The great throne room of the Altarian Empire stretched out like a vast crystal cave. Tall pillars reached up to the ceiling that glowed with soft blue light. King Vorak sat on his massive throne made from black stone. His forearms rested on the chair arms as he looked down at the creature before him. The albino wolf stood in the center of the room. Its white fur was no longer clean and bright. Dark stains covered its coat where blood had dried. The wolf's red eyes looked tired and full of pain. A large crystal thorn stuck out from its nose. The thorn was as long as a human finger and sharp like a blade. It glowed with a sick green light. Snowfang had been the pride of King Vorak's war beasts. The wolf was bigger than any earth wolf. It stood as tall as a small horse. Its muscles were strong under its white fur. The red eyes could see in complete darkness. Its teeth could bite through metal armor. For 5 years, Snowfang had fought beside the king's armies. It had helped win many battles across the galaxy, but now the great warwolf could barely stand. The crystal thorn made every breath painful. When Snowfang tried to eat, the pain became worse. When it tried to sleep, the thorn sent sharp pain through its head. The wolf had not eaten properly in many days. Its strong body was getting thin and weak. King Vorak's red skin grew darker with anger as he looked at his wounded beast. His yellow eyes glowed in the dim light. The king was tall even for his people. His body was covered in natural armor that looked like black metal. Scars from old battles marked his arms and chest. "Bring me the healers," the king said. His voice was deep and cold like winter wind. 3. Altarian healers walked into the throne room. They wore long white robes that covered their bodies. Their heads were bald and their skin was pale blue. Strange tools hung from their belts. These tools could fix almost any injury. They could replace lost arms or legs. They could make new organs inside a body. But they looked afraid as they came before their king. "Tell me again why you cannot heal my warwolf," King Vorak said. Each word came out slowly and filled with threat. The first healer stepped forward. His hands shook as he spoke. "Great king, the crystal thorn is not just in the nose. It has grown roots deep into the beast's brain. The roots are like tiny threads. They wrap around the nerve paths that control pain and thought." The second healer nodded and added, "If we try to remove the thorn, the roots will tear apart the brain. The wolf will die or go mad." The third healer was the oldest and most skilled. He had served the king for many years. The thorn was made by the Nexari people as a weapon. They designed it to cause the most suffering possible while keeping the victim alive. "Our tools work by replacing damaged parts, but this weapon requires careful removal bit by bit. We do not have the knowledge for such work." King Vorak stood up from his throne. His full height made him tower over everyone in the room. His 4 fists clenched tight. "So you are telling me that the most advanced healers in the galaxy cannot help one wounded animal?" "Yes, great king," the oldest healer said. "We are sorry." The king walked down the steps from his throne. Each footstep echoed in the big room. He stopped in front of Snowfang. The wolf looked up at him with pain-filled eyes. For a moment, something soft appeared in the king's yellow eyes. He remembered when Snowfang was young. The wolf pup had followed him everywhere. It had slept beside his bed. It had learned to fight by watching the king's soldiers. But the soft look disappeared quickly. King Vorak was a ruler who conquered planets. He had built an empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. He could not show weakness, not even for a loyal friend. "If the great healers of the Altarian Empire cannot fix this beast, then it is useless to me," the king said. "Remove it from my sight." The healers bowed low and started to leave, but the king raised one of his hands to stop them. "Wait," he said. "I have heard reports about a small planet in the outer systems. The scouts say humans live there. These humans are supposed to be clever with their hands. They fix things in ways we do not understand. They are weak and primitive, but they solve problems differently than we do." The oldest healer looked confused. "Great king, what do you mean?" "Take this wounded beast to the human world," King Vorak ordered. "Leave it there. If the humans can succeed where you have failed, then perhaps these creatures have some value. If they cannot, then the wolf dies far from here where I do not have to see it." The king's personal guard stepped forward. These were the biggest and strongest Altarians in the Empire. Their armor was black and covered in spikes. They carried weapons that could cut through stone. "You will take the wolf to the human planet called Kepler-4 for Tabiv," the king told his guards. "Find a place far from their main settlements. Leave the beast there. Do not help it. Do not harm it. Just leave it and return to me." One of the guards bowed. "What if the humans find the wolf and ask questions?" "Great king," King Vorak thought for a moment. "Tell them nothing. Let them figure it out themselves. If they are as clever as the reports say, they will know what to do. If they are not, then we will know they are worthless." The guards moved towards Snowfang. The wolf did not fight them. It was too weak and in too much pain. They put a metal collar around its neck that would let them control where it went. The collar had words written in the Altarian language. It said that this wolf belonged to King Vorak of the Altarian Empire. As the guards led Snowfang away, the wolf looked back at its master one last time. The king did not look back. He had already returned to his throne and was reading reports from other planets. The great throne room became quiet again. The healers left to go back to their work. The guards took Snowfang to the transport ship that would carry it across space to an unknown world. King Vorak sat alone on his throne and stared at the spot where his warwolf had stood. For just a moment, he wondered if he was making the right choice, but rulers of empires could not waste time on wounded animals. There were planets to conquer and enemies to defeat. The transport ship left the Alterian homeworld that same day. Inside, Snowfang lay on the cold metal floor. The crystal thorn in its nose pulsed with green light. Every pulse sent new waves of pain through the wolf's head. But now there was a different kind of pain too. The wolf could feel that its master had given up on it. The ship flew through space toward a small blue and green planet, where strange creatures called humans lived. None of them knew that this choice would change everything. The morning sun shone through the tall trees of the forest near New Sol Colony. Hannah Kim walked carefully along the dirt path. She carried a heavy backpack full of equipment for her studies. At 16 years old, she was the youngest student in the xenobiology program, but she was also the smartest. Hannah had lived on Kepler 442b for 3 years now. Her parents had died in a transport accident when she was 13. Dr. Minho Park and his wife had taken her in like their own daughter. Dr. Park was the chief medical officer for the human colony. He had taught Hannah everything he knew about healing and medicine. The colony of New Sol was small. Only 500 humans lived there. They had come from Earth to start a new life among the stars. The planet was beautiful but dangerous. Strange animals lived in the forests. Some were friendly, but others would attack without warning. Hannah was collecting samples of plant life for her research project. She wanted to find out which plants could be used as medicine. Many Earth medicines did not work the same way on this planet. The colonists needed to find new ways to heal their sick and injured. She stopped at a clearing where purple flowers grew in thick groups. These flowers seemed to glow in the morning light. Hannah knelt down and carefully cut some stems. She put them in a special container that would keep them fresh. As she worked, she heard a sound that made her freeze. It was a low moan filled with pain. The sound came from deeper in the forest. Hannah knew she should go back to the colony and get help. Dr. Park had always told her never to go into unknown areas alone, but the sound came again. This time it sounded weaker. Something was hurt and suffering. Hannah could not walk away from a creature in pain. She followed the sound through thick bushes and over fallen logs. The moaning got louder as she got closer. Finally, she pushed through a wall of green leaves and saw something that made her gasp. A huge white wolf lay on its side near a small stream. The wolf was bigger than any animal Hannah had ever seen. Its fur was pure white like fresh snow, but the fur was dirty and matted with dried blood. The creature's ribs showed through its skin. It had not eaten in many days. What made Hannah stare in shock was the thing sticking out of the wolf's nose. A green crystal thorn as long as her hand pierced through the animal's muzzle. The crystal pulsed with sick light. Around the thorn, the wolf's nose was swollen and infected. The wolf's eyes opened as Hannah approached. They were bright red, like rubies, but instead of the wild look of a dangerous animal, Hannah saw intelligence in those eyes. She also saw terrible pain and sadness. Hannah noticed something else strange about the wolf. Around its neck was a metal collar covered in symbols she did not recognize. Behind the wolf's ears, small metal devices were attached to its skull. These looked like the computer interfaces she had seen in advanced medical equipment. "You're not from this planet, are you?" Hannah whispered. "Someone brought you here." The wolf tried to lift its head but was too weak. It made a soft whining sound that broke Hannah's heart. She could see that this proud creature was dying slowly and in great pain. Hannah set down her backpack and moved closer. The wolf watched her but did not try to attack. Its red eyes seemed to be asking for help. "I'm going to try to help you," Hannah said in a gentle voice. "But first I need to get you some water and food." She took out her water bottle and poured some into her cupped hand. The wolf smelled the water and tried to drink, but when it moved its nose, the crystal thorn sent sharp pain through its head. The wolf pulled back with a cry of agony. Hannah realized that the thorn made it almost impossible for the wolf to eat or drink. That was why it was so thin and weak. The crystal was designed to cause maximum suffering while keeping the victim alive. It is not an accident," Hannah said to herself. "Someone did this to you on purpose." She looked more closely at the metal collar. The symbols were definitely alien writing. This wolf was the companion of some advanced species. But why had they abandoned it here to die in pain? Hannah knew she could not move the huge wolf by herself. It probably weighed more than 3 adult humans. But she could not leave it here to suffer either. She took out her communication device and called her adoptive father. Dr. Park answered after 2 rings. "Hannah, where are you? You were supposed to be back an hour ago." "Dad, I found something in the forest. It's an injured animal, but it's not from this planet. I think it's an alien creature." There was silence on the other end. Then Dr. Park spoke in a worried voice. "Hannah, get away from there right now. Come back to the colony. We can send a team to investigate later, Dad. It's dying. There's a crystal thorn stuck in its nose and it can't eat or drink. If we don't help it now, it will be dead by tonight. Hannah, listen to me. Unknown alien creatures could be dangerous. You need to leave the area immediately." Hannah looked at the suffering wolf. Its red eyes met hers again. She saw no anger or threat there, only pain and a desperate hope that someone might finally help. "I can't leave it, Dad. It's not dangerous. It's just hurt and scared and alone," Dr. Park sighed. "Where exactly are you?" Hannah gave him her location coordinates. "Please bring medical supplies. And bring the portable scanner. I want to see what that crystal thorn is doing to its head. I'm coming with a team. Do not try to treat it yourself. Do not get too close. Just wait for us." But after Hannah ended the call, she did not wait. She moved closer to the wolf and sat down beside it. The creature was so big that its head was at the same level as hers when she sat on the ground. "I'm going to call you Baiko," she said softly. "That means white tiger in Korean. You're beautiful and strong, even though you're too hurt right now." The wolf seemed to understand that she was trying to help. It made a soft rumbling sound deep in its throat. Hannah reached out slowly and gently touched its white fur. The wolf did not pull away. For the first time in many days, Baiko was not alone with his pain. A small human girl had chosen to stay with him instead of running away in fear. He did not understand why, but he felt something he had almost forgotten. He felt hope. 3 weeks had passed since Hannah found Baiko in the forest. She had convinced Dr. Park to let her set up a temporary medical station in an old research building outside the colony. The building had been abandoned when the first settlers moved to better locations. Now it served as a hospital for one very special patient. Dr. Park had been amazed by what the portable scanner showed them. The crystal thorn was not just stuck in Baiko's nose, it had grown tiny roots throughout the wolf's brain. These roots wrapped around nerve pathways like poisonous vines. They sent constant pain signals while blocking the wolf's natural healing. "This is the most cruel weapon I have ever seen," Dr. Park had said. Whoever made this wanted their victim to suffer as much as possible while staying alive, but Hannah refused to give up. Every morning before her regular classes, she walked to the research station. Every evening after dinner, she returned to spend time with Baiko. Slowly, the wolf began to trust her completely. Baiko was far more intelligent than any earth animal. He seemed to understand every word Hannah spoke. When she talked about her day at school, he listened carefully. When she was sad about missing her parents, he would gently rest his huge head against her shoulder. The metal devices behind Baiko's ears turned out to be a communication system. When Hannah accidentally touched one of them, it projected holographic symbols in the air. The symbols changed based on what Baiko was thinking or feeling. "You can talk," Hannah said with excitement. "Not with words, but with these pictures." Baiko made the device show her images of his homeworld. Hannah saw great crystal cities and armies of soldiers. She saw other wolves like Baiko fighting in battles across the galaxy. Then the images changed to show King Vorak on his throne. "That's your master," Hannah said. "He's the one who abandoned you here." The holographic symbols turned dark red. Hannah could feel Baiko's anger and sadness. The wolf had served his king loyally for years. When he was wounded, the king had thrown him away like a broken tool. "I'm sorry," Hannah whispered, "but you're not alone anymore. I'm going to fix this, no matter how long it takes." Dr. Park had studied the crystal thorn from every angle. The Altarian healers had been right about one thing. Trying to remove it all at once would kill Baiko, but they had been thinking like they wanted to replace the damaged parts with new ones. Humans thought differently. Instead of replacement, they focused on careful repair. Instead of cutting out the whole problem, they worked to dissolve it bit by bit. Hannah spent hours researching human medical techniques. She read about microsurgery and nanomedicine. She studied how human doctors removed brain tumors and repaired nerve damage. Slowly, she developed a plan. "We can't pull the thorn out," she explained to her father, "but we can break it down chemically. Human nanomedicine can eat away at the crystal structure. We just have to do it very slowly so the roots dissolve before they can damage the surrounding tissue." Dr. Park was amazed by his daughter's solution. "That might actually work, but it will take months of careful treatment, and we'll have to monitor every step to make sure we don't cause more damage." "Baiko is strong," Hannah said. "He can handle it. He's been suffering with this pain for months already. At least now he has hope." The treatment began with tiny injections of nanomedicine around the base of the crystal thorn. The microscopic robots were programmed to target only the alien crystal material. They would eat away at it, molecule by molecule, while leaving healthy tissue alone. Every day, Hannah watched the scanner readings. The thorn was getting smaller, but so slowly that it was hard to see progress. Some days it seemed like nothing was changing. Other days, Baiko seemed to be in more pain as the dissolving crystals shifted inside his skull. But Hannah never gave up. She brought Baiko fresh food and clean water. She kept his fur clean and free of infection. Most importantly, she talked to him every day. She told him about her life on Earth, about her parents who had died, about her dreams of becoming a doctor like her adoptive father. Baiko shared his own memories through the holographic system. He showed Hannah battles he had fought and planets he had seen. He showed her other wolves from his pack and the trainers who had taught him to be a war companion. As the weeks passed, something wonderful happened. The constant pain that had filled Baiko's eyes began to fade. He started eating better. His white fur grew thick and shiny again. His red eyes became bright and alert. More importantly, the bond between Hannah and Baiko grew stronger every day. The wolf began to see the teenage girl not as his master but as his friend and family. He would have died for King Vorak out of trained loyalty, but he would die for Hannah out of love. One morning, Hannah arrived at the research station to find Baiko sitting up and alert. The crystal thorn was now only half its original size. For the first time in months, the wolf could move his head without crying out in pain. "Good morning, Baiko," Hannah said with a smile. "How are you feeling today?" The communication device projected symbols that Hannah had learned to read. They meant gratitude, friendship, and hope. But there were other symbols too. Symbols that meant protection and loyalty. Baiko had made his choice. He no longer belonged to the king who had abandoned him. He belonged with the human girl who had refused to let him die alone. Dr. Park arrived later that morning to check on the patient. He was amazed by what he saw. Baiko was not just healing physically. The wolf's entire personality had changed. Instead of the broken, suffering creature they had found in the forest, this was a proud and powerful being who had found a new purpose in life. "The treatment is working better than I hoped," Dr. Park told his daughter. "But Hannah, you need to understand something. This wolf is not a pet. He's a trained war companion from an advanced alien civilization. When he's fully healed, he'll be incredibly powerful and dangerous." Hannah looked at Baiko, who was watching them both with intelligent red eyes. "He's not dangerous to us, Dad. He's family." As if he understood her words, Baiko stood up on his strong legs. Even weakened by his injury, he was an impressive sight. He walked over to Hannah and gently touched her hand with his nose. The gesture was clear. He was promising to protect her, just as she had protected him. Outside the research station, unknown to any of them, alien ships were beginning to gather in the outer reaches of the solar system. King Vorak had received reports that his abandoned war-wolf was not only alive, but thriving under human care. The king was coming to see for himself what these strange humans had accomplished where his greatest healers had failed. 2 months after beginning treatment, the crystal thorn had shrunk to the size of a small needle. Baiko could eat and drink normally again. His strength had returned, and with it came abilities that amazed everyone in the colony. The white wolf now stood 7 feet tall at his shoulder. His muscles rippled under his thick fur. His red eyes could see perfectly in complete darkness. But most impressive was his intelligence. Baiko could understand multiple human languages and could solve complex problems faster than most people. Hannah had convinced the colony leaders to let Baiko live freely in New Seoul at first. Many colonists were afraid of the huge alien wolf. Children would run when they saw him coming. Adults would cross the street to avoid walking near him. But Baiko was patient and gentle. He never showed aggression toward any human. When children dropped their toys, he would carefully pick them up in his mouth and return them. When elderly colonists struggled with heavy packages, he would help carry them. Dr. Juwon Lee, the colony's defense coordinator, had been the most suspicious of Baiko. She was responsible for keeping the colonists safe from the dangerous animals that lived on the planet. A 7-foot alien werewolf seemed like the biggest threat they had ever faced. "I don't care how friendly it acts," she had told Dr. Park. "That thing was trained to kill. What happens when its programming kicks in? What happens when it remembers what it was made to do?" But Dr. Lee's opinion changed on a day that started like any other. She was taking her 8-year-old daughter Sumi on a nature walk outside the colony. They were collecting interesting rocks. For Sumi's school project, the path led them to a cliff that overlooked a beautiful valley. Sumi ran ahead, excited to see the view. But the recent rains had made the ground soft and unstable. As Sumi leaned over the edge to look down, the cliff began to crumble. Dr. Lee screamed as she watched her daughter fall. The cliff was 50 feet high. No human could survive such a drop. But before Sumi had fallen 10 feet, a white blur shot through the air. Baiko had been following them at a distance, as he often did when colonists ventured outside the settlement. His enhanced senses had detected the unstable ground before the humans noticed it. When Sumi began to fall, he reacted instantly. The wolf launched himself off the cliff in a perfect dive. His powerful legs absorbed the impact as he caught Sumi gently in his mouth. He landed on the rocky slope below and carefully climbed back up to safety. Dr. Lee was crying as Baiko placed her unharmed daughter in her arms. Sumi was shaken but not injured. The wolf had been so careful that his teeth had not even torn her clothing. "Thank you," Dr. Lee whispered to Baiko. "I'm sorry I doubted you." The wolf's communication device projected symbols that meant friendship and protection. From that day forward, Dr. Lee became one of Baiko's strongest supporters in the colony. Word of the rescue spread quickly through New Seoul. The colonists began to see Baiko not as a threat, but as a guardian. Children who had once run from him now begged their parents to let them pet his soft fur. Adults would wave and call out greetings when they saw him patrolling the colony borders. But Baiko's greatest test came 2 weeks later. The colony's sensors detected a large pack of native predators moving toward New Seoul. These creatures were called shadow cats by the colonists. They were as big as earth lions but much more aggressive. Their black fur made them almost invisible at night. Their claws could cut through metal, and their teeth could crush bones. 30 Shadowcats was more than the colony's defenses could handle. The human security team had weapons and barriers, but they were not prepared for such a large attack. Dr. Lee called an emergency meeting of the colony leaders. "We need to evacuate," she said. "Get everyone to the transport ships and lift off until the pack moves on." But evacuation would take hours. They had elderly colonists and small children who could not move quickly. The Shadowcats would reach New Seoul long before everyone could get to safety. Hannah raised her hand during the meeting. "Baiko can help. He knows military tactics. He was trained to coordinate battles." Some of the leaders looked doubtful. How could one wolf, even a large one, help against 30 predators? But Dr. Park had seen the tactical knowledge stored in Baiko's communication system. Let's hear what he has to say. Baiko's holographic projector came to life. It showed a detailed map of the colony and the surrounding area. The wolf had marked the positions of all the Shadowcats. He had also identified the best defensive positions for the human security team. The plan was brilliant. Instead of trying to fight all 30 cats at once, Baiko would use the colony's layout to divide them into smaller groups. The humans would set up crossfire positions that would trap the cats in narrow areas where their numbers would not help them. "He wants to act as bait," Dr. Lee said, reading the tactical display. "He'll draw the cats into the traps we set." It was incredibly dangerous. If Baiko made even one mistake, the Shadowcats would tear him apart. But the wolf seemed confident in his plan. As darkness fell, the colonists took their positions. The security team set up behind barriers with their energy weapons ready. Baiko stood alone in the colony's main square, his white fur making him easy to see in the moonlight. The Shadowcats arrived like a black wave. Their yellow eyes glowed in the darkness. They spread out to surround the colony, just as Baiko had predicted, but instead of attacking randomly, they followed their pack instincts to hunt together. Baiko began to move. He used his enhanced speed to dash between buildings, always staying just ahead of the pursuing cats. His white form led them exactly where the humans were waiting. The first group of cats rushed into the narrow alley between the medical center and the school. Energy beams lit up the night as the security team opened fire. The cats found themselves trapped with no way to escape. Baiko continued his deadly dance, leading group after group of predators into perfectly planned ambushes. His tactical knowledge combined with the humans' weapons proved unstoppable. Within an hour, the surviving Shadowcats retreated back into the forest. Not a single colonist had been injured. The defense had been perfect. Dr. Lee found Baiko after the battle. The wolf was tired but uninjured. His red eyes still glowed with the intensity of combat, but when he saw the humans approaching, his expression softened. "You saved us all," Dr. Lee said. "I don't know how to thank you." Baiko's communication device showed symbols of unity and belonging. He was no longer an outsider being tolerated by the colony. He was a full member of their community. Hannah hugged the big wolf's neck. "You're not just my friend anymore," she said. "You're everyone's protector." From that night forward, Baiko's position in New Seoul was secure. He had proven that the bond between humans and their alien companion was stronger than fear or suspicion. The colonists had accepted him completely. But in the depths of space, King Vorac's fleet was getting closer to the human world. The Alt ruler had heard about his former warwolf's new life. He was coming to reclaim what he believed still belonged to him. The real test of the human-alien alliance was about to begin. The morning sky above New Seoul suddenly darkened as massive alien ships blocked out the sun. The vessels were unlike anything the human colonists had ever seen. They looked like floating cities made of black metal and crystal. Energy weapons bristled from their hulls like deadly thorns. Hannah was working in the research station with Baiko when the colony's emergency sirens began wailing. Through the window, she could see the enormous ships hovering above the settlement. Fear gripped her heart as she realized what this meant. "They've come for you," she whispered to Baiko. The wolf's red eyes stared up at the ships. His communication device projected symbols that Hannah had never seen before. They pulsed with deep red light, expressing emotions too complex for simple translation. Anger, sadness, and determination all mixed together. Dr. Park's voice crackled over the emergency radio. "All colonists report to the community center immediately. We have visitors." Hannah and Baiko hurried through the streets of New Seoul. Other colonists were running in the same direction, their faces filled with worry. Children cried as their parents carried them. The elderly moved as quickly as they could on shaking legs. The community center was packed with frightened people. Dr. Park stood at the front of the room with Dr. Lee and the other colony leaders. Their faces were grim as they tried to calm the crowd. "We've received a communication from the alien fleet," Dr. Park announced. "Their leader wants to meet with us. He's coming down to the colony's surface in 1 hour. A woman in the crowd raised her hand. "What do they want?" Dr. Park looked at Baiko, who stood beside Hannah near the back of the room. "They want him back." The crowd turned to stare at the white wolf. Many of these people owed their lives to Baiko. He had saved Dr. Lee's daughter from falling. He had protected the entire colony from the Shadowcats. He had become part of their community. "They can't have him," someone shouted. He belongs here now. Other voices joined in agreement, but Dr. Lee raised her hand for silence. These aliens have weapons that could destroy our entire colony in minutes. We have to be very careful about how we handle this. Hannah stepped forward. I want to be there when their leader arrives. Baiko saved all of us. The least we can do is stand with him now. Dr. Park shook his head. Hannah, it's too dangerous. These are not friendly visitors. They're a military force coming to reclaim what they think belongs to them. Then they need to understand that Baiko doesn't belong to anyone, Hannah said firmly. He's not property, he's family. An hour later, a smaller ship detached from the main fleet and descended toward the colony's landing pad. The ship was sleek and deadly looking, covered in weapons and armor. It landed with a sound like thunder. A ramp lowered from the ship's belly. King Vorak emerged, followed by 6 of his personal guards. The alien ruler was even more imposing than the holographic images Baiko had shown Hannah. He stood 9 feet tall, his red skin covered in natural armor. His forearms were thick with muscle, and his yellow eyes glowed with cold intelligence. The human delegation waited for him near the landing pad. Dr. Park, Dr. Lee, and 3 other colony leaders stood in a line. Behind them, despite her father's protests, stood Hannah with Baiko at her side. King Vorak's yellow eyes immediately found his former warwolf. For a moment, surprise flickered across his face. The creature he had abandoned was no longer weak and suffering. Baiko stood tall and proud, his white fur gleaming in the sunlight. The crystal thorn that had caused so much agony was completely gone. Impossible, the king said in accented English. My greatest healers said the wound could not be treated. Dr. Park stepped forward. Your Majesty, I am Dr. Minho Park, leader of this colony. We welcome you to our world. King Vorak barely glanced at the human doctor. His attention remained fixed on Baiko. You have stolen my property. I have come to reclaim it. With respect, Your Majesty, Dr. Park said carefully, we found the wolf abandoned and dying in our forest. We thought he had no owner. The king's 4 hands clenched into fists. I am Vorak, ruler of the Alterian Empire. That warwolf belongs to me. I trained him. I gave him purpose. He is mine by right of creation. Hannah could not stay silent any longer. She stepped out from behind the adults, ignoring their attempts to pull her back. He's not yours anymore, she said in a clear, strong voice. King Vorak looked down at the teenage girl with contempt. A human child dares to speak to me. You know nothing of ownership or loyalty. I know about friendship, Hannah replied. I know about caring for someone when they're hurt. I know about standing by someone even when it's difficult. The king's laugh was harsh and cold. Friendship, this creature is a weapon. It was bred for war and trained for killing. It has no capacity for the soft emotions you humans treasure. Baiko stepped forward to stand beside Hannah. His massive form towered over her, but his presence was protective rather than threatening. The wolf's communication device activated, projecting holographic symbols in the air between him and his former master. King Vorak's eyes widened as he read the symbols. They told a story of abandonment and suffering. They showed the pain of being thrown away like a broken tool. But they also showed something else. They showed love, loyalty, and belonging found with a human girl who had refused to let him die alone. You chose them over me, the king said, his voice filled with disbelief and rage. I gave you power. I gave you glory. You fought beside me across the galaxy, and you throw it all away for these weak creatures. Baiko's response was simple. The holographic symbols showed an image of Hannah sitting beside him during those long weeks of healing. They showed her gentle hands cleaning his wounds and her voice comforting him through the pain. They showed the moment when she had first called him by his new name, giving him an identity beyond being a weapon. They healed you, King Vorak said, beginning to understand. They succeeded where my healers failed. Yes, Dr. Park said. But more than that, they gave him a choice. They treated him as a friend, not a tool. The king's yellow eyes blazed with anger. I do not care about your human sentiments. The wolf belongs to me. I am taking him back. He gestured to his guards, who began to advance toward Baiko. Their weapons were drawn and ready. But as they moved forward, something unexpected happened. The colonists began to emerge from their hiding places. Dr. Lee appeared with a security team. Families with children stepped out from behind buildings. Even elderly colonists who could barely walk came forward to stand with Baiko. Within minutes, the entire population of new souls surrounded the landing pad. They formed a protective circle around Hannah and Baiko. Some of them were afraid, but they all stood firm. You'll have to go through all of us, Dr. Lee said, her hand on her weapon. King Vorak looked around at the crowd of humans. These were not soldiers or warriors. They were farmers, doctors, teachers, and shopkeepers. They had families and homes to protect, yet they were willing to face his armed guards to defend one alien wolf. You would risk your lives for an animal that is not even your species, he asked. He's not an animal, Hannah said. He's our friend. He saved our lives more than once. We don't abandon our friends when someone threatens them. The king stared at the girl who had spoken so boldly to him. She was small and young, with no weapons or armor, but she stood without fear in front of a ruler who commanded armies across the galaxy. "I could destroy this entire colony," King Vorak said. "My ships could turn your settlement to ash in minutes." "Yes, you could," Hannah agreed. "But that would make you a murderer, not a king. And it wouldn't change the fact that Baiko chose us over you." For a long moment, the alien ruler stood in silence. His yellow eyes moved from Hannah to Baiko to the crowd of humans who had risked everything to protect someone they cared about. Something in those eyes began to change. For the first time in years, King Vorak was seeing something his empire had forgotten. He was seeing the power of love over fear, compassion over conquest, and choice over control. The test of two civilizations had begun, and the outcome would determine not just Baiko's fate, but the future relationship between humans and the Alterian Empire. "You have fulfilled your part of the bargain," the king said slowly. "A human child has accomplished what the greatest healers of my empire could not." Hannah nodded, but her expression was cautious. "And you'll fulfill yours. Baiko can stay here." With this, King Vorak was quiet for a long time. He watched as Luna approached Hannah and gently nuzzled her hand in thanks. He saw how Baiko positioned himself protectively near the girl who had become his family. He observed the bond between human and alien that had grown stronger than any loyalty based on fear or duty. "I came here to reclaim my property," the king finally said. "But I see now that these wolves were never truly mine. I owned their bodies and commanded their actions, but I never had their hearts. You gave them something I never could." "What's that?" Hannah asked. "Choice love, a family that values them for who they are, not what they can do." King Vorak's hands moved to remove his ceremonial crown. "I have learned something today that will change my empire forever." He placed the crown on the ground in front of Hannah. "I, Vorak of the Alterian Empire, formally acknowledge that humans possess wisdom that my people have forgotten. You have shown me that true strength comes not from conquest, but from compassion, not from taking, but from giving." The king stood and signaled to his guards. "Both wolves may remain here if they choose, but I would ask something in return." Hannah looked suspicious. "What? Come with me. Teach my healers these techniques. Show my people what you have shown me. Help us remember how to heal instead of replace, how to nurture instead of discard." Dr. Park stepped forward protectively. "Your Majesty, Hannah is just a child. She belongs here with her family." "Then come as well," King Vorak said. "All of who establish an embassy on the Alterian homeworld. Begin an exchange of knowledge between our peoples. Let humans teach us compassion while we share our technology with you." Hannah looked at Baiko and Luna, both watching her with intelligent red eyes. Their communication devices were projecting symbols that meant adventure, friendship, and new possibilities. "We could help other wounded creatures," Hannah said thoughtfully. "We could teach your healers to see patients as individuals, not just problems to solve." Dr. Park smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm. "It would be the opportunity of a lifetime, medical techniques that could help both our species." King Vorak nodded. "The first human-Alterian medical exchange, a partnership between species based on mutual respect rather than conquest." As the alien king's ships prepared to depart, a new chapter in galactic history was beginning. The cold empire that valued only strength was about to learn the revolutionary power of kindness, and it all started with a human girl who refused to abandon a suffering wolf. Hannah Kim, the youngest ambassador in galactic history, would carry with her the simple but powerful truth that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from what you can take, but from what you choose to give. The dawn of a new age of cooperation between species had begun, sparked by one act of compassion in a forest on a distant world, and somewhere in the galaxy, other abandoned and suffering creatures would soon discover that they were not forgotten after all.